You couldn't really blame the party for what happened, although later Lauren wished she hadn't organized such an elaborate affair. If she hadn't been so wrapped up in the small details, she might have noticed something was wrong. Or would she? To notice something was wrong, you had to be looking, and she hadn't been looking. She'd been focused on the moment and the excitement of the big day, and the day started early. Waking before the alarm, she rolled over in the bed and kissed Ed. "Happy birthday!" Should she say the word 40? How did he feel about it? How did she feel about it? She still had 5 years to go before she hit that number, which seemed far enough away not to be worth worrying about. And 40 wasn't old, was it? Maybe not. But when she'd taken delivery of the birthday cake the day before and looked at the 40 candles waiting to be added, she'd thought, "We're going to need a bigger cake." Ed was still dozing, so Lauren lay for a moment, cocooned by the peaceful calm of their bedroom. This had been the first room she'd decorated when they'd moved in. She'd designed it as a sanctuary, a peaceful haven of white with accents of gray and silver. In summer, the room was flooded with sunlight, and she slept with the window open so she could hear the birds. Now, in January, and with London in the grip of a cold snap, the windows were firmly closed. Their house, in an exclusive and sought-after crescent in fashionable Notting Hill, backed on to private gardens. Every morning for the past week, the trees had been coated with frost. The cold air slapped you in the face the moment you opened the door, as if daring people to leave the comfort of their homes. Lauren, who had been raised on Martha's Vineyard, a small island off the coast of Massachusetts, wasn't afraid of bad weather. She peeled back the covers and ran her fingers through his hair. Not a single gray hair. If it's any consolation, you don't look a day over 60. There was no reaction, and she leaned forward and kissed him again. "I'm kidding. You don't even look 40. Except lately, at certain times of the day, and when the sun was bright and harsh." Then he looked every day of 40. Working too hard? Ed had always worked long hours, but recently he'd been coming home later and later and seemed unusually tired. She'd subtly planted the idea that he might visit the doctor, but he'd ignored all hints. It was easier to persuade a toddler to eat broccoli than to get Ed to the doctor. Her phone told her it was past 6 o'clock, and he showed no sign of moving. Lauren gave him a gentle nudge. Her day was planned to the minute, and it all kicked off at precisely 6:15. She heard the sound of clomping on the stairs. "Mack's awake. How can one teenager sound like a herd of elephants?" She wondered if Mack was coming upstairs to the bedroom, but then the sound of footsteps faded and she heard the kitchen door slam. Why wasn't Mack at least putting her head round the door to wish her father happy birthday? Anxiety gnawed at the edges of her happiness. It wasn't that long ago that Mack would have come charging into the bedroom, proudly carrying the birthday card she'd made herself. She would have leaped into the middle of the bed, and the three of them would have snuggled together. Even when she'd hit the teenage years, Mack had been easygoing. All that had changed a month before. Overnight, she'd transformed into a sullen, moody caricature of a teenager, and Lauren couldn't put her finger on why. The Christmas holidays had been stressful. Ed, who rarely took time off, had reacted badly to the tension, and Lauren had taken on the role of peacekeeper. As a result, she'd spent most of the festive period with tight knots in her stomach. "Do you think it's a phase? Or is this it?" Ed stirred. "Is this what?" "The way she's going to be for the rest of her life." She didn't voice her thoughts. Today was Ed's birthday, and she had a party to run. Thinking of everything she had to do to make it perfect made her fidget. This being Friday, she was meeting her friends Ruth and Helen at 10 o'clock in their favorite coffee shop, which happened to be exactly 35 steps from the hairdresser, where Lauren had an appointment exactly 45 minutes later. By 11:30, she'd be at the florist, and after a 15-minute walk home, ticking the boxes for both steps and sunshine, the rest of the day was devoted to making final preparations for the party. "Ed," she nudged him again. "Wake up, honey. I need to give you your gift before I head downstairs. I have the whole day planned out to the minute." Ed finally opened his eyes. "When have you ever not had the whole day planned out to the minute? If I ever invent an organization app, I'm calling it the Lauren." Was that a criticism?